Good morning, everybody. It is I, Jalen, and I am back with a semi-fashion related video. I say semi because they're not exactly clothes I'm talking about today. It's going to be fragrances. And as you can tell, these are my top 5 fall fragrances. And I wanted to make this video just because I've really gotten into fragrances recently. I've really started paying attention to what smells like what and kind of what determines how a fragrance is going to smell, and trying to pick out like different things, or just trying to categorize different smells just via my nose and kind of the information I know about the categories. But you don't need to know all of that to watch this video, trust me. So these are just the top 5 fragrances that I like personally for my own collection for the upcoming fall season. First off is probably the most popular of all of the fragrances I'll be talking about today, and it is Gucci Guilty. Now, I mostly just wanted Gucci Guilty because it is marketed so heavily, and just due to sheer exposure, I thought it would smell good. I went into Ulta one day, and I had $80 that I didn't need to be spending, burning a hole in my pocket, and I smelled it. I liked it. I bought it, and I've had this for a few years at this point now, and I've only gone through about half the bottle. But I mostly just don't use it because it was so expensive. It's like one of a few fragrances I've ever bought full price, and so I'm not that quick to want to use it as fast as I can. But whenever I do wear it, I do love having it on my skin, and I'm the type of person that I will smell the areas I applied my fragrance to just to smell it again, because you do get nose blind to yourself after a little bit. And so I want to keep smelling myself if I smell good, and I definitely always do this with Guilty. And the reason it's one of my favorites is because it's accessible. It's pretty much everywhere you can buy fragrances. There's even a Guilty for ladies too. Um, it's also kind of cheap for a designer fragrance, at least. This 1.7 ounce bottle was $80, give or take. Inflation may have changed that since I bought it, but it should still be in the $80 ballpark, which isn't awful. It's not the cheapest thing ever, though, and I'm sure there are clones and alternatives as well that you can buy into, but I really don't think you can, go wrong with the original Guilty. And so that's why Guilty is the first fall fragrance that I'm going to recommend from my collection. By the way, these are in no particular order. These are just kind of what 5 I really like, the first 5 that popped in my head when I think of the fall fragrances that I want to be wearing, in the next few months. So, no particular order. Let's get on to the next one though. This second fragrance that I'm going to be showing you is actually very new to my collection. It's called Darius Rouge by Givenchy. That is the proper way to say it, by the way. Givenchy. It's French. Look it up. Go take a French class. I took 4 of them. You can't tell me anything. Um, but Darius Rouge by Givenchy. It is a flanker, apparently, of the original Darius. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I didn't take Greek, so you can school me in that. Um, but Darius Rouge, it's very like spicy, but also like kind of woody and like fresh too. The middle note is literally just red pepper. If that kind of tells you where the spice, that'll tell you where the spice is coming from. But I really think that it reminds me of the woods. I forget some of the other notes, but the one that really stuck out to me was the red pepper, just because I don't know. I don't expect actual spices in my fragrances at this point. I know that they use them all the time. Like another one I have, Carbon by Prada. It has black pepper in it, and so does Gentleman by Givenchy as well. It has black pepper in it too, but I don't know. I wasn't expecting actual red pepper in this red spicy, woody fragrance. But it does smell really good. I'm literally wearing some right now, and Yeah, it's kind of dried down a bit and it smells sweet as well. I can't really explain it properly, at least within like a few words, but you're just gonna have to believe me when I say this smells really good. I do have 3 more to show you, and I can explain this next one a lot better just because it's very simple to explain. So this next fragrance is going to be a lot simpler to explain, as it kind of tells you what it is supposed to be in the name. And it is Matcha Meditation by Maison Margiela Replica. Now, I've had this in my fragrance collection for a decent amount of time, and I know it pretty well, and it is one of my favorites in my collection too. Just because I only got it because, well, honestly, By the Fireplace and Jazz Club were sold out. But I like green tea, and so getting a fragrance that smelled like tea was it was at least interesting to me. I wasn't exactly sure that I would like it, and honestly, I did not like it like the first time I sprayed it on, but by the second time I wore it, I liked it a lot actually. And I think that's attributed to the just relaxation I get from smelling green tea, or specifically matcha. But by the end of its lifespan on my body, because fragrances do wear off, it starts smelling like chocolate, and that's because there's white chocolate on the base notes. I forget the middle notes and some of the other notes in here, but the 2 smells that I associate this fragrance with is green tea, matcha, and white chocolate. And honestly, those are 2 of my favorite things. Well, specifically just chocolate in general I love, and tea in general I love. So having both of those in a bottle or on me, just it's a match made in heaven. And it also just fits in with fall too. I mean, you think of fall, you think of coziness, and to me, green tea and chocolate, or tea and chocolate, they just remind me of relaxation as well. But not to get so sentimental, let's get on to the next fragrance, our second to last one. So this 4th fragrance is Dark Rubble by John Varvatos. And for full transparency, I really do not know many of the notes in here. I blind bought it from Burlington like 2 years ago, just because I loved John Varvatos' vintage so much. It was the first designer cologne I'd ever bought, and so I figured this might be the next best thing to it. Dark Rebel, it smells very musky, kind of leathery and smoky as well, but it does dry down into something sweet. I can tell you that much at least. I don't know specific notes in here, but I'm sure there is leather in here and some type of musk as well. It smells very masculine, very kind of manly-ish. A lot of pretty much every other one that I've shown you could be worn kind of unisex, just by how kind of ambiguous they smell. But this is definitely targeted to a masculine audience. But I like it. I blind bought it. I don't really wear it too much, but I do plan on wearing it more. It was pretty cheap too, and I don't really know what else to say. It's because I have hardly worn it in the last 2 years. I plan to this year though. Now that I know how to wear fragrances, if that makes any sense. Whatever, let's get on to the last fragrance, okay? I'm done verbal diarrheaing, as I'm still doing it. Oh my god. So this final fragrance that I have to show you is first and foremost the cheapest one on the list, so henceforth already the most accessible on the list, but it also may be the most controversial. I only say that because a lot of men's fragrances, at least the ones that are like super popular amongst men, like Dior Sauvage or Gucci Guilty, those are like super fresh and clean smelling, or they're aquatic like Nautica Voyage, or they're like woody, again, like Gucci Guilty, or something like Calvin Klein's Free. But this one is not like that at all. It's very rough. It smells rough. Not in like a bad way, in like a wild way. I've seen the word animalic used to describe it. It's definitely musky. I think there's notes of leather in here too. And yeah, it's Aramis by Aramis. It's their self-titled album. And I really think I'm gonna get my wear out of this fall, just because it smells like the season. I don't know, it just reminds me of the fall season. And also it reminds me of like people in suits. I don't know why, but like the masculinity, like the masculine aspect of this feels very like traditional, and not in like a really old timey sense, like 19th century, but I mean traditional in like 1980s. You know, you got the people in the power suits going to their business meetings to do nothing, talking on their brick phones, kind of like in their taxi, like just talking about nothing to their taxi driver who does not care about the job that this business person has. Like, I get that vibe from it, and I'll be showing you some like ads as well for Aramis, and I think that they also kind of showed that vibe for the cologne too. But yeah, I don't think that the $10-11 for this, I think it's going as far as $10-11 could go, because it lasts a long time, it smells good to me at least, and it's strong but not overpowering. That's the last cologne I have to show you. Before I go though, I do have an honorable mention, so let me get to that. So lastly, I have an honorable mention. It's only an honorable mention because I don't currently own it, and so I really can't give too much of a detailed description of it. And it's, you know, also an afterthought because I don't own it. But it would have to be Autumn Vibes or By the Fireplace by Maison Margiela Replica. I kind of grouped them both together because they smell similar to me, at least. Like I said, don't have the strongest nose, and I haven't smelled Autumn Vibes in forever, but I did just smell By the Fireplace on accident when I was like going through my samples. I do have a sample of By the Fireplace, and it smells just as good as when I first sprayed it. Like when I got Matcha Meditation and Springtime in the Park all that time ago. And it is honestly, if you had only one Maison Margiela fragrance to choose from, I would say By the Fireplace. You can make a really strong argument for Jazz Club too, or pretty much any of them, but I think By the Fireplace is just, it just hits right, especially for autumn, which is what we're talking about now. But yeah, that's all I have to say. I really hope that, you know, this was a helpful video. And also, do you have any fragrances you're going to be like, you know, rotating through this fall season, this upcoming fall season? Let me know, because one, I like learning about fragrances and like what's in them. And also two, I also like knowing what other people like smelling like. I like having other perspectives, because I know mine is not the only one, even though it's the only right one. But please feel free to share your top fives in the comments as well. Have a good morning, have a good afternoon, have a good evening, have a good night. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.